It's time to dad.
Oh, hey guys, welcome back to Time to Dad. We don't have Dale from Burger King tonight, but I'm here with James, Alex, and Jason. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode. You want to go first, Alex? I feel like your shit's cooler than mine because it's good news. I think it's good news.
Yeah, dude. It's great news. I found a new gig, so Thursday, it was going to be tomorrow, but my license was about to expire, so I got to take care of that tomorrow. So I'll start Thursday, but all is well.
Nice, man.
Who is the
doing the
pagan
same kind of thing?
guy? I was going to say, Lord Odin, thank you for the blessings. I don't know how it works. Was it you, Jason, that was into that?
No, that was AJ or I don't know, one of the quitters. I forget his name.
Is Alex's new job being Wilson on Home Improvement? Because I'm only seeing like half of his head in the shot. Is that everybody else see that? What's going?
Nah, I see his whole head.
Really?
It is cropping his head weird in the recording, but I can't fix that. Turn your phone horizontal.
If it is,
Hold on. Hold on.
Oh! Oh shit! Now I have to fix your video on the live stream, and I hope it picks it up. Shazam.
Am I sideways?
No, now you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really weird. I can see his whole head, but it was cropping it a little weird. Wait, so same kind of job, dude? You doing like mechanic type shit, or
stuff, yeah?
Nice.
Sweet, easy stuff.
Sweet. Well, my shit's. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be exciting, but it's probably not as exciting as going from on the job hunt to having a job. But I'll give you a little bit of backstory. Like late last week, the person in charge of our office pretty much, what's up? The person in charge of our office pretty much came to us, and it was kind of weird because he's like, hey, I need to talk to everybody. I'd like it to be Monday or Tuesday. I need these. He wanted people from our DC office to be in there, and he wanted people from our North Carolina office to be in our office, which immediately was like red flag to me. Like, hold up, why do they need to be here? And this was just after our headquarters dropped the thing, and they were like, yeah, we're doing our big quarterly meeting. And I was like, cool, that's not out of the norm. And then my partner in charge dropped that bomb, and I was like, all right, shit's fucking weird. So since Friday, it's been super awkward. You know, when you're like I don't know if you guys have ever been in an office environment, but like corporate type setting, but you just kind of get this weird buzz feeling where like some shit is not right in the universe kind of thing. And so he dropped that bomb late Friday afternoon, and we kind of festered with it. And I'm talking to like, my work husbands and shit, and we're all like, what is happening? What's going on? Like nobody fucking knows. We're like talking to people in other offices. We're like, hey, do you know anything about this? And everybody's like, no, I don't know shit. And so then today, we go into the meeting, and about I don't know, about half an hour before this big meeting, quarterly meeting, which is normal, we sit down with the partner in charge in our office, and we basically found out that we had been acquired by a larger firm. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I feel like there's a lot of dads that'll be listening that are going to run into this kind of thing in their career path. It happens a lot. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about my feelings behind it and the emotions that are behind it, in the hopes that either I can put another dad at ease, or at least let him know, like, dude, the struggle's fucking real and it's awkward. But so basically they dropped that bomb on us, and initially the buzz going around was like, are they going to close our fucking office? Because, I mean, out of a company of like 700 people, including our Mexico offices, where our little office is about 15 people, I think. And so we're like, are they fucking closing our office? Are we underperforming? We all going to be fucking jobless? When it gets that awkward and people can feel the tension without knowing what the fuck's going on, people think of the worst fucking shit, man. like we all joked about it. Like, you know, when we got there this morning, we were just kind of like, nice working with you. And that was just to kind of cut the fucking tension because it was really fucking thick, man. And I get with things like with mergers and acquisitions, you kind of got to keep it hush hush until everything's on the table. But at the same time, dude, it was really fucking weird. And it was a ton of mixed emotions for me up until that point. And even still now, I have mixed emotions. And so obviously when something like that happens, I'm calling, you know, guys that I've worked with the entire time I've been with this firm are calling me and I'm calling them and we're just kind of talking about it. And, you know, it takes a little time for it to sink in and your gut reaction is like, what the fuck am I going to do? And that's what I got the sense from. A lot of people were reacting that way. And so it kind of dawned on me. I was like, I'm not going to fucking do anything. At this point in time, they you know, they're absorbing our entire company, even our Mexis office, which I was like, for sure, if someone gets beheaded, it's going to be the Mexis branch, right? Like outside of the US, kind of a satellite office. But in this weird situation, I was like, you know what? And this is the same advice I told the other guys that called me. And I say guys literally because it was guys. I don't talk with, like, I'm not buddy with a lot of women. We don't have a lot of women in our office. Irrelevant. But
what's relevant?
I just kind of told him, like at this point, I was like, guys, this company wants us for the experience we have.
Ladies.
Yeah. And I was like, this company wants us for the experience our particular office is heavy on. That's all we do. And so I was like, I'm gonna feel it out. And I told the other guys, I was like, look, the market right now is freaking hot. We've been trying to hire other engineers for 6, 7, 8 months, and just there's nobody out there. And so I said, what I personally am gonna do is feel out the transition, because what we've been told is that there's going to be this 6-month period where we're still just our little satellite company. We're one company, but we're kind of the subsidiary, which I was like, cool. Everybody likes a soft transition. Nobody wants anybody coming in and dropping the hammer. And so what I decided for myself was I'm going to ride it out. I'm going to feel this out and go with it until there, if there comes a fork in the road where I just feel like it's going, what's up? Where I just feel like it's going somewhere I don't want to go, then that's when I decide to part ways, right? But it's really fucking awkward, man. Is the only way I can describe it. And
hey, careful, buddy. My question was going to be, does that make you nervous for your future right now? Is that why choose not to do something right now, like brush up on your resume, possibly look at, you know, the worst case scenario and kind of sort of be prepared if it ever gets to that point?
So, yeah, no, excellent question. So, number one being that I know we've been trying to hire so long, and my wife working for another firm, I know they can't find anybody. If I were to go on the job market right now, I could, you know, knock on wood, I would be hired within the week. That's how hot the friggin' market is here, right? Awesome. So that's one backfall, which puts me at ease. And I understand not every career and every line of work has that backfall, but for me right now, that's a plus, right?
Yeah.
So if I stick it out and it sucks balls, I don't think anything's drastically going to happen between those two time periods where all of a sudden I'm not going to be hireable.
Yeah.
But number two is, and this is the uneasy part for it, for me, because one of my really good work buddies that, I mean, him and I both have kind of clawed and scratched to get to where we are, to get to the trajectory and the path that we're on. And that goes with the leadership program that I told you guys about that I was in. And he's actually a step ahead of me in the second version of that program, which is more advanced than what I just went through. And he was the first guy I called, and we're both just kind of sitting there like, what the fuck, man? And he was like, dude, if this had happened 2 years from now, I'd be at the partnership level. And so he got a huge gut punch because now he's like, where the fuck am I? Am I still on the same trajectory? And I'm in the same boat, right? Like I had this massive blueprint kind of printed out with the people I had been working with in higher leadership, and they had this plan for me. And now all of a sudden you're like, fuck, is that like, where do I fit in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, to compound it worse, is we're going from a 700 person firm to merging with a 65,000 employee firm. And so there's another piece, right? Do you become just a number? Are you just employee A, B, C, D, E, F, G? How the fuck do you stand out in a crowd of that many people, right? Even if you had a megaphone and you're in a crowd of 65,000 people, you're only going to make but so big of a splash. And that's just kind of where I am. And it's awkward. It's weird. I like to give people the benefit of a doubt, I guess, is part of me. Right? Like, don't judge a book by its cover. That's just kind of who I am. But if you fuck with me, like, you're going to find out. Right. So but you know what I mean? Yeah. Right. Like we're cool till we're not cool. And that's just kind of where I am in this boat. Like I'm willing to give it a shot, and I trust the leadership that relayed the message to me and in talking with them. But I think that's all you can do. And I don't know if that is ever going to put another dad at ease will find himself in this situation. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dads, I'm sure, a year wind up in this kind of situation. It's just the nature of the beast when you're in a corporate setting, is to consume and kind of, if you can't beat your competition, just consume them, right? But it's awkward, man, and I'm gonna stick it out, and I'm gonna see where it goes. And I mean, right now it's weird to say, because I'm not looking for a negative that's going to tell me like, oh, abandon ship, get the fuck out of here. But at the same time, I would say I'm cautiously keeping an eye out for things that are red flags. Because I've talked a lot on these episodes about how I've talked a lot about, if your company doesn't do X, Y, Z and doesn't take care of you in this way, then you need to find a new fucking company. And that's a very blunt statement. But that's a testament to there are companies out there with a really good culture for taking care of their people and looking out for each other. And that's where I was at prior to today. And so now I'm heading into this gray area. Are they going to accept our culture, or do we have to adopt their culture, which may be different and not quite the same? And so I'm just tiptoeing around it, man. But it's me talking about it and someone listening to me talk about it may feel like it's not a big deal, and I don't want to treat it like that, because it is. In my head, I've got this whole other world of fucking Pong going on like classic Atari, right? So I've got the ball bouncing over here of positives, negatives, and then the ball in between is just, I don't fucking know what's going on.
Yeah.
But the best thing I can say to dads in that situation is, if you do feel like, you're in a good market situation, you're a marketable person, try it out, I would say, right? Because the only negative side of trying it out is you end up going to work for another employer, and then you're in the same fucking boat you are now, right? But at least if you can ride through it and they keep everybody with you on board, at least you've got some other people there with you in the same swamp, I guess I'll call it. That's going to be in the trenches with you, and you've got people to figure it out together with that. It's kind of my mentality. But I took a long fucking time with this episode to get that. But that being the first time I've ever had to go through it, we went through it when my previous firm was acquired, but we were a 12-person firm, and it wasn't this big scary animal that acquired us, so it was a little bit different. But I don't know. Hopefully, my hope is that a dad will hear that and not knee jerk react and go into like super high stress mode and just take a second to kind of decompress and think about it and make a good sound decision and not freak out right away. I guess is what I'm trying to get across. You got something, Jason? I saw it.
I think reading the eyes. I got nothing and then something. I was trying to like listen to the whole thing because what
Sorry, I know.
what I do is very. I mean, I literally do the job that I do because I didn't want anything to do because I did corporate jobs, I did production jobs, I did like pharmaceutical corporate production job where they put the two together. Like I've been in big companies and small companies and all that, and my decision to do what I do now, which is just like straight up sales, was like I don't necessarily want to have to worry about any of that acquisition, merger, whatever. I'll just bet on myself. So if I have to, I'll bounce around and do something different. But at the same point, the company I'm at was, and it still applies very much so. And I was thinking maybe it didn't, but before I got there, within like a year ish of me working there, they were a big small dealership. So like a single owned local, not local, but like a family owned local dealership. So they were local.
Mhm.
And then they were by a little bit more of a corporate conglomerate auto group that had like 20 plus and now like 30 dealerships. And, it's the same thing. And I think there's a dynamic of the people that were absorbed and a lot of that angst that turns into like animosity. And it's funny, it's weird how they manage these acquisitions, because I don't know what I don't know what role Nick plays in it, but what they seem to do is they will take on and keep that structure of every branch and the small companies and whatnot, but they'll put in one or two and say, okay, we're going to
plant some extra seeds. Yeah.
We'll take out the people that were in charge, or we'll like incorporate them, and then they take out the top ones and then they just leave their guys implanted as the top ones. So you still have the underside and the foundation and the people who have been there for a very long time, but the people in charge, with the exception of a couple, are the new company and the new vision, and it does cause issues, like short term, long term, but it gets weeded out and it becomes like smoothed out into whatever it becomes. But it's a very interesting process that you will see, like it. And I know I'm not saying that it works that way across the board. I've seen it work that way in companies that are very different from what you do. And we'll go back to the fact that I think that you're like Chandler Bing, and I don't really know what you do, Nick. So I have no idea. But whatever,
we've had that discussion.
whatever your job is, like I'm sure that it will have some growing pains, and they will try to put in the vision and their top people, but leave the foundation, which is your company, which is weird. It's a very
That's
interesting.
That's the
way
thing. I think this. I don't know what I fucking call it. My former company, prior to this, it's I always told you guys, right? Like, if your company's not fucking taking care of you, if you're scared to fucking death to tell your boss, like, my kid's fucking sick, got to go pick him up from school, like, you're working for the wrong company, right? And I get that doesn't apply to every career. It's totally situational. It depends on what you're doing. But if you're in a corporate setting and you can't fucking do that, you're with the wrong company. And this company is where I first found that home, and where they really drove that home for me. So not knowing if that culture will still be intact, a year, 2 years from now is the scariest part. But at the end of the day, I'm confident in my skills. I can perform the job I need to perform. It's just am I going to stay on that same path I worked so hard to get on, and is that culture going to be there? And for me, if I can check both of those boxes, then fuck yeah, let's do this. If I can check one of them, then I'm kind of in that gray area, right? I'll have to look at more pros and cons and decide from there. But it's definitely fucking awkward, and I think dads are going to run into that. So that's the main reason I brought it up. And it's I don't really know how to describe how I feel right now. Like I'm not. They put it. It was super fucking cheesy. I really wish they had just taken this slide out of the presentation, but they put this whole like wavy, like sine wave fucking graph, and they put this shit like it was basically how you're going to kind of react and the motions you go through in this process. And I think number one was shock, and I'm like, okay, I can understand that. Some people are like, where the fuck did this come from? Because usually you hear buzz a lot sooner than I started to know it if something like this is going to happen. So then you go from shock, and immediately below that is like depression. And I was just kind of like, who the fuck like just immediately dives into depression, given what we're knowing? They're bringing our entire company together with them, right? So that's the best possible scenario, because a lot of these, they've already started trimming fat months before this happens. So it's not, yeah, we're bringing the whole company on board. A lot of times it's we're bringing 50% of your company on board. And so you're saying bye to coworkers. But the whole, I don't even know what the fuck else was on the graph, because I just kind of like shook my head and stopped looking at it, because it was very dramatic. In my opinion. And maybe that's just the person I am, where I've dealt with enough adversity in life that I'm just kind of like, well, fucking is what it is. Let's do this. And maybe I think a little differently than some people, but the graph, it fucking annoyed me. That's all I can say about it. But yeah, I'm what? Sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, I've been a little quiet because it's
Hey,
pretty hard
James
for
is
me.
on this podcast. What's up, James?
Hey, what's up? It's kind of hard for me to relate, because I've had the same job since I was 17 years old, right? Like over 21 years I've been in the military, where I have job stability and I don't have to worry about getting fired tomorrow or things.
Yeah, but you've had other worries, though, right?
Yeah, but I don't have to worry about not getting a paycheck at the end of the month, right? Like, well, I can't.
True, you can feed your family.
Can't really say that, because with the politicians and their budget crisis, and the budget every year getting in jeopardy. But luckily, they normally pass a small budget to make sure that the military continues getting paid, even when they are being dumb. But either way, where I do relate is and what really shifted my focus and my entire plan for my life post-military was COVID, where I saw corporate greed at its finest, where close family members of mine were working at the executive level for Fortune 500 companies, where the quarter before they were throwing pizza parties for their employees, it's pat on the back, handing everybody hats, and congratulating everybody for having the highest quarter in the history of the company. And then the very first quarter of COVID, they blamed COVID and lay off, there's 10,000 employees. They laid off nearly 2,000 employees, and they blamed COVID for it. Fast forward one more quarter, and those 2,000 employees that they hired, those same jobs are right back on the market, and they're hiring pretty much the same people to fill those jobs. So all it was just a sleight of hand to save money for a quarter to show growth during a time where the factory had to be shut down or whatever the case may be. It was just sleight of hand that type of thing. Corporate trick.
Yeah, look over here.
Corporate trickery, right? But there was a guy that killed himself over this. There were people that had 30 and 40 year, were with the company for 30 years, and they got fired.
There were people that lost pensions over that bullshit.
Yeah, right. So 30 years, they get fired, and then they get rehired, 3-4 months later, and they're starting over from scratch, right? So I saw that corporate greed, and like I said, someone very close to me and my family went through it. Oh, by the way, they were let go 1 week before their due date, for their child's birth, so they didn't get their paternity or their maternity leave, and like it was just a whole big mess that I never wanted to deal with. So that's why in 2020 I started thinking about my post-military career, where I had spent the last 20 years, getting certifications and degrees and all these types of things to go out into the workforce and go work for Amazon or Google or Microsoft or whoever the case may be. And I still might do that, but I don't want to rely on that for my livelihood. So what I've done since 2020 is I've shifted focus and started more of an entrepreneurial path. Real estate investor. I'm starting I have my own tech startup. We're building an app. I'm a realtor. I plan on starting at least 3 more businesses. I'm trying to have as many income streams as I can before I retire next May from the military, so that by the time I retire, I'll have my VA disability paycheck. I'll have my military pension. I'll have my realtor income. I'll have my real estate investor income, and then 3 or 4 more businesses over the course of the next year, and I'll have 5 to 6 income streams, and then I'll go get that corporate job working with Amazon or wherever, and don't plan on relying on them, right? So and I don't say this to say everybody's in the same situation I am, because everyone doesn't have that pension to fall back on. I just say it to say I would start thinking of ways to potentially get exit that corporate life and take care of yourself. Whether it's starting your own businesses, because side hustles can easily turn into main hustles and replace your main job, right? I know people that started pressure washer companies thinking it was just going to add a couple, $1,000 or $2,000 extra, here and there, and it ended up, being, 150 to
Right, becomes their passion.
$150,000, to $200,000 a year companies, right? So they were making more doing pressure washing than they were in their corporate, jobs. So, it's just a different way of thinking of things. I love the idea of building generational wealth from real estate. I think it's most people think you need a whole bunch of money to get into real estate. You really don't. You can, time, right? So I think we all waste time sitting on the couch watching TV episodes or playing video games or doing whatever. We invested that same amount of time into educating ourselves on, real estate wholesaling or, real estate, different ways of acquiring real estate. There's so many ways out there you can acquire real estate with little to no money. And, you start with one house, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then you don't have to work at all ever again. Right. So
it's funny you bring that up, because I feel like in my doom scrolling at night, I see that question a lot from dads, and it's, I guess there's 2 questions. So question number 1, I see a shit ton of is, it's, hey dads, this economy's fucked up. I can no longer make ends meet in the career I'm in. Like, what careers are lucrative? What should I look at? Is question number 1. And then I think question number 2 is, all right, so there's 3 questions. So question number 2 is usually, hey dads, I'm coming up short. Like, what's your best side hustle? What can I do to make a few extra bucks to better my family's situation? And then question number 3 is the entrepreneur question, where you've got a dad that's like, look, I've been grinding it in the corporate world and I'm just fucking sick of it. How do I take the plunge? And some of those dads, I feel like, have a good head on their shoulders. They've got a good idea of what business they want to create. And then other dads, I think, are just looking to get into something, like you said, like the power washing, or I know there's a lot of dads getting into detailing cars and things like that. And those are the 3 biggest questions I see. And I can never answer that fucking question. I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I do like scrolling through the comments and just seeing the interesting shit that people share.
I don't remember the exact 3 questions you just asked, but I would say, if someone is, trying to come up with they're coming up short that month and they want to try to make, make some extra money. I think there's different apps out there where people go on those apps to find the handyman, right? Like you have to know what skills you have, so you can go on those apps and do side hustles for money, right? Like gigs, side hustle gigs to handyman type work. You can go on websites like Fiverr or other ones like that. And if you're not a handyman type guy, you can write an essay. You can, if you're a musical type guy, there's people that pay $400 or $500 for a song for you to write a quick song for them. And it doesn't have to be like Grammy winning song. It's like, hey, my wife's anniversary is coming up, right? So Fiverr is a good one, and it also can be graphic design or
graphic design is huge right now.
All kinds of stuff. Hey, make this logo for this, and you don't even need to know how to do it. You can go on Google and type in, hey, how to.
You can make it on fucking Canva.
How to use artificial intelligence. How to use AI to create a logo. AI
is scary, man.
And you learn
scary.
If you learn how to leverage AI, you can start 10 businesses today, right? Like. So then if you're that corporate guy that's tired of grinding and you want to start businesses, I would say the lucrative ones I've seen are the pressure washing, or it's a very flooded market right now. So depending on where you are, like bounce house rentals and party type rentals, like when the bounce house rentals side hustle first started, it was very, very lucrative. Depending on what market you're in, it's probably very saturated right now. Doesn't mean you can't make money. It just means you got to be more competitive. But one of the ones I personally like, I don't think you can replace your primary income with it, even if you're in somewhere like Florida where the weather is year round. But foam parties, for like a $2,000 investment, you get this professional like foam cannon. And you can rent out birthday parties for like 350. The guy said he gets $385 for 2 hours. So 2 hours, you book two of those on a Saturday, you're talking $700, in 4 hours on a Saturday. So you book 4 or 5 of those parties and you've paid for your investment, right? So I think you can maybe make an extra 20 grand a year doing that type of hustle, but that extra 20 grand can buy you your first rental property. So,
dude, I think
you just gave me a bad idea.
So you just can fill your house with foam. Is that where we're at?
I'll send you guys pic.
I was fucking scrolling and I got caught. A reel caught my eye, and it was something like you can buy like a used stump grinder for like $2,000. Put a new blade on it for $500, and if you grind, it was something like 15 stumps a month times $250, and all of a sudden you're making like an extra $45,000 in income.
Yep,
there's some crazy shit. So there's some hustles out there. For sure.
We can do it. We can almost do an entire episode on extra ways to make money, side hustles. And then I would say turning those side hustles, using them, and rather than blowing the money that you're making from those side hustles,
make it work for you.
Using that money to then turn into something like real estate, where you're no longer exchanging your time for money, and then you're getting those passive income streams. That's the end goal, right?
That's it. Well, he hit it earlier, but there's 2 words in that whole like thing that I heard, and they were both time. So it's like, how do you maximize the opportunity of your time? And he's like, oh, you play video games. I think for a lot of dads, it's not about like I don't play video games. I don't have a lot of that extra time, and I think without a doubt not utilize it properly, and even that could be in the wind, because it's like, and I thought about, and I had this conversation with somebody in my line of work selling cars. It's like, like you can make a good living doing the job that I do, but what is the time trade-off, and at what point are you managing your time appropriately? Because you could make $700 in 4 hours with foam rentals, or you can make $200 in 10 hours, or $0 in 10 hours trying to sell a car. Like there's different ways of actually maximizing your time. You could make $50 or $20 an hour doing a 9 to 5 job. Like that, you have to actually do the math in your head. You have to get to the point where that it is passive income. It is making money while you sleep and while you don't work, and utilizing an automated process that you automated so you get credit for that business. It's all just, it's time management, whether it's created organically with your own work and you're cleaning cars and you're detailing and you're doing side hustles, or you're literally like maximizing organizations and AI and digital income streams and real estate and being smart and land surveying type, which is essentially what real estate is. Like it's time management. Everything about income, everything about life, time management. And I think that was the most important thing that James kept saying, was he's like, time. Every time he said the word time, I'm like, well, that's the fucking key. That's what he just said. Like,
well, that's the like hot topic of every post that's related to those kind of three options that I said
kids, is man. Like time is
well, that's the thing. A lot of dads are like, to piggyback on those three options I said, is the dad is like, I've been offered this opportunity. It's going to financially accelerate my family into the place I want to be.
What cost?
But then he throws in the kicker and he says, but the kicker is I'm going to be working, 4 12s a week versus working a typical 9 to 5. And so I'm glad you brought up time. Is it though?
4/12 means you have 3 days that you can focus.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Right.
But
depending on the work, if you're so goddamn exhausted though after those 4 days, like, and I'm not saying that should be the case, but that's things that those dads have to weigh, and that's always an interesting piece. Is a lot of dads that talk about making a big move. Career wise, either switching careers or doing the same thing, but with a different company, it's always time. And thanks for bringing that up, Jason, because I feel like that's in the back of every dad's mind, right? You hear when all the dads post about divorce and it's, the wife said I was working too much. That's why we got divorced. Or you hear a dad reaching out for help because, he says, I realize as a dad, my job is to provide for my family. But as a result of providing what I need to provide, I'm not with my family.
Banging the pepper.
But I would say a large majority of those guys are not white collar workers. They're blue collar workers.
True.
And they're having to do over 40 hours a week. So they're doing 60 to 80 hours a week just to make the ends meet, right? So and it's
hard fucking shit too.
Yeah, so, hard labor intensive jobs, right? So what I advocate is, if you're already going to be spending those extra hours working for someone else, you could be working for yourself, right? Where you're taking more of the income, and then your side hustle then becomes your main hustle, and then you decide when you work and when you don't work, and then you invest in other things. It doesn't. I say real estate because that's my bread and butter, but it can also you can just put it in. Put it all into the S&P 500. You don't even have to know the stock market. Don't have to like
index
risk.
Funds,
one index fund, S&P 500, and you're good, right?
Something with predictable growth. Yeah,
but I would do it a little bit smarter than that. But index funds, ETFs, dividends. You put your money into dividends. For the next 10 years, and don't touch it. And I'm not even talking like tax advantage type stuff, 401k and all that, because there's a place for that, but most blue collar workers.
Joe dropped a Roth bomb on us last episode.
Most blue collar workers need access to their money for emergencies and things like that. So I think it's better if leave it in there if you can. But I wouldn't put all my money in a 401k where if you were to take it out, you're going to get a hit. Just create a regular account with some brokerage. Put it in at some dividend stocks, and then eventually you could be living off of just your dividend income. Like it doesn't take much, right? They call it an army of dollars.
So James, I realize you're not there, right? Because you've got a stable career where you're at, and you've got your side gigs that you've been studying and working on. But how do you may not know the answer. This is just me spitballing. But if there's a dad that says, I need to get out of the fucking career I'm in and I want to pursue my dream of XYZ, and it's something they've been studying, working on, do you have any advice to them to get them over that hump and just help them take that plunge?
I would say that would probably be depend, on an individual case, right? What my guidance would be, because let's say you're currently let's say you're currently a car mechanic and you're busting your ass, 60, 80, 70, 80 hours a week, and you're just tired of, greasing it out, and you want to go be a cloud engineer for Amazon, right? Like you having that dream, but not having the capability to grasp the concepts of what it is to be a cloud engineer. Like, I can't tell you, hey, go pursue your dreams, because you don't have the experience of working in that field for the last 20 years. You don't have the proper certification or education, and you're not mentally capable of grasping the concepts, right? So I'm not gonna tell you, hey, go pursue your dream.
No, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
It's not practical, right? But if you're that same grease monkey and you're working the same amount of hours, and your dream is to own your own auto mechanic shop, or your dream is to start a race car team, or whatever the case may be, right? I would say, spend a little bit less time working in your, almost every one of us, if we take a solid hard look at ourselves, we can cut expenses by 20% in our households and not even notice it. If you don't need the newest iPhone,
right? The frivolous things.
You don't need 21 subscriptions to different television applications and cable TV, and the max internet package, and two or three car payments, and we can cut our expenses by 20%. Even and I know this is going to come off as a very privileged opinion, and it is, because I agree, being in the military with a stable income is very privileged. But
bullshit. You fucking work your ass off. The military creates.
I was gonna say you have a
The military creates a work ethic that is sustainable. So and I don't want to say it is what it is, but they have a culture, like Nick talks about, of people that work hard. If your company is built on that, then those people earn whatever they make, and you have a mindset of earning. So I don't want to jump in on all of this, but my point is, like, Nick brings up Andy Elliott, and I guess I do want to jump in. How about that? But Nick brings up Andy Elliott in the group, and Andy Elliott is a genius, and his foundation is car sales, and he's like a little bit over the top with it. But the most important thing that you can learn from somebody like that is the concept of income earning activities. So whatever you're doing, and it may be doing a 9-to-5 job, it may not be, it may be at home, you have to calculate your own schedule and your own time management. But at any point, you have to be calculating in your head, is what I'm doing an income earning activity? So if I'm with my kids, that's different. I mean, you have a time blocked amount of time, but even if you're at your job, if there's downtime, if there's free time, if there's time that you could otherwise allocate, is it an income earning activity? Am I learning something about what I want to do? Am I working on my body? Am I working on my mind? Am I focusing? Is what I'm doing an income earning activity? Am I actually at work or not? And that's literally what he would teach, and that's something that I taught. That's a self-talk, like, mantra in my head at all times, at my job and at home. So it's like, income could be, love, passion, respect from my family, which is income in a way. But it most of the time, it's money. Is what I'm doing an income earning activity? Am I studying for what I want to do? Am I making money for my family? And what's the best way to do that?
So for sure, I agree with that. When I say that I come from a privileged, perspective, even when I was an E1 private, like, E1 privates today make way more money than I did. But when I was an E1 private, I was getting 2 paychecks a month for $350 each. So every 2 weeks, I was getting a $350 paycheck. That doesn't sound like a lot of money. Even 20 years ago, that wasn't a lot of money. I was getting $700. This is after taxes, and I think I was having to pay some money for the Montgomery GI Bill or whatever was coming out of my paycheck. But what I was taking,
healthcare,
what I was
out of there too, right? Like if you're or when you were a kid, so
no, I was in the military.
No,
so
in the military.
so you always have like some
just
healthcare,
it's free healthcare. So
Free healthcare.
So that's why I say about being privileged, right? I was making
Nothing's
I was
free.
bringing home $700, but I was living in the barracks, so my rent was free, my electricity was free, my water was free.
Food
You know,
was free.
20 years ago, internet wasn't really
Yeah,
a
but
thing.
Yeah.
but you're not talking about the unknowns that you did have to deal with that somebody who may not have a steady paycheck has to deal with.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. Military life is not easy, right? I've got several combat deployments. I've seen things I would never wish anybody to see on. But what I mean by privileged, a privileged perspective is my friends that did not join the military, all of them had to worry about whether or not they could make rent that next month. I literally could go that $350 paycheck that I had. I would go to I was a dumb E1 private, 17 years old in Italy where I was allowed to drink. Well, not that, but I was allowed to drink, at 17 years old. So I would go to the club and spend $300 in a weekend in the club. I get paid on Friday, paid on Friday, and I'd be broke on Monday, right? But guess what?
YOLO.
Guess what? My food was free. I went to the Defect to eat. All my bills were covered, right? So I didn't need that money. It was play money. So I did not live the same life as my non-military people.
So tell the E1 private out there what he should be doing with this money.
Oh yeah, well, E1 private now, I don't know what they make. I think it's like $1,800. But
it doesn't matter. What would you right now, sitting in the same shoes, tell yourself as an E1 to do with that money instead?
Invest every single bit of it into dividends and ETFs, and start side hustles. Uber and Fiverr and whatever you can to do it. Have as many income streams as you can in your free time instead of hitting the clubs and chasing girls.
I mean, they could still have $300 for the club if they want. That's fine. If they're making
maybe every other paycheck goes to the club, right?
$300 a month instead of a week. But
yeah,
I like all I say is
in Italy.
all I say is when I tell people they can cut their expenses by 20%, it coming from someone where I don't live on base anymore. I don't live in the barracks anymore. So I have a mortgage, I have bills, I have things that I have to cover, and it's not all covered by the military. I have a stipend, and I probably spend 3 times that stipend. But I just say that, like, as I progressed through the military, I got more and more bills and more responsibilities, but I don't have to worry about getting fired or not getting my paycheck at the end of the month. So all that to say, if I was that grease monkey working in the mechanic shop and I was doing 80 hours a week, or I was a plumber, or I was a house framer, or whatever the case may be, and I was working 80 hours a week and I was doing it for some other company, I would probably try to cut my family's expenses by 20. And then that means you can spend that money less hours working for someone else, and you can use that same hours to focus on yourself and building your own company. And that would be the pretty much the standard guidance I would give most people in that scenario that you asked about.
Sweet. You guys are the shit. I think this was a really good episode. I appreciate you guys. I tried to drill into it a little more, and this is we'll revisit this again, and maybe when Joe's on the episode, because right, Joe's got his own business and he's doing well with that and everything. But those are important things. I think that every dad at some point. I think even before you hit a dad, you start criticizing and worrying about those things. Especially if you're going to be a family man, right? Like if kids is definitely in your playbook, and you're mature enough, you're already looking at those things before you meet Mrs. Right. But yeah, guys, get out there, do your side hustle. And another thing I want to stress is don't be fucking embarrassed. If you are fucking struggling to make ends meet, man, I see so many dads that apologize in their fucking posts telling people they're struggling. And I'm like, dude, what? Like, if you're on drugs, I get it. You apologize to the people because you made a dumb fucking decision, or that's just your chemistry that pushed you there. but I see a lot of dads that are really remorseful that they have to ask for that kind of advice. And I just think, I think as men, if that's how other men think they need to talk to us, and they need to be resentful or they need to feel shameful for asking for help about that kind of fucking thing, then what the fuck are we doing, right?
Yeah.
So two things. Keep an eye out for those posts, and you guys out there that have the experience, the know-how, that have gone through this kind of shit. Please give honest advice and don't poke fucking fun at people. And then if you're another dad out there and you have no fucking clue what they're talking about, at least drop a, like, keep your head up, dude. Like, keep fucking grinding. I always post that, like, keep your head up when I see a post like that, because it's tough, man. And every guy will admit that it's tough to be fucking vulnerable, especially when it comes to how much you make and the kind of amenities and things you can provide for your family. It's easy to be embarrassed when you think you don't have what the Joneses have. So again, sorry, that was a long-winded episode, and sorry I took so long at the beginning, but hopefully if you guys ever run into situations like what we talked about, you can kind of be a little more prepared or take an extra second to think about it. So again, thank you guys for hanging out with us on Time to Dad. Like, subscribe, check out the Facebook group,
Nick,
and we'll catch you. Oh, you got something?
I just say, I just want to
Yep.
say, like, honestly, people like, subscribe, that same old shit. Like, if you have questions about important shit, about losing a job, about gaining a job, about real estate, like, there's smart fucking people that do this podcast, and honestly, this episode helped me appreciate that a little bit too. But, like, we're here. Drop something in the Facebook group. Drop some questions. Like, there's people.
Direct message.
There's people that care about your success and not just in, like, a selfish way. Like, there's people that can help. There's people that have insight. Never be ashamed of what you do and how you make your money for your kids. That's a big thing. But please go ahead, Nick. But for real, hit us up.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, and to tag on to that, the group of I forget how many of us are. There's 6 or 7 of us now, still in the group. But if we don't know a direct answer, I'd be willing to bet that somebody we've crossed paths with know the answer, or we can direct you to what we think is a good resource. So
Listen,
I agree, Jason. Please don't take that lightly when we ask you guys to drop us a line. What's up?
How can you become a professional fun haver?
Professional fun haver? That's called being a kid.
Yeah,
you've already gone past that phase of life.
You know what I mean?
Dude,
like, I think
you open a fucking bouncy house arena. I don't know.
A foam bouncy house ball.
That's what I'm saying.
You throw foam parties all day, every day.
I knew it.
James, I've been so quiet because James kind of motivated me with that foam thing, and I'm like, what's at the root of this? I think just having fun. The root is, how do you figure out how to monetize having fun? I'm gonna figure it out.
That's it, man. That's entrepreneurship. Nobody starts their own business because they fucking hate it.
Go have fucking fun. Thank you for listening.
All right, we love you guys. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Go have fucking fun.
You're
have
good.
fun, Dad.
See you guys.